Hello and welcome to another payment integration video. This time we're going to try another solution from Adyen Payment Gateway, which is their customizable component solution. This is basically a solution that lets you take parts of their hosted payment page and embed it in your website. So as you can see in the screen over here, I took the card input component from Adyen and just embedded in my ReactJS project so I can accept card payments on my own checkout page. This is my own custom checkout page, and this is an iframe displaying the card input from Adyen. And this is what happens when I try to pay here. I just enter the card information, hit pay, payment gets done right away, and I get my result printed out in the console, and I can display it to the customer accordingly. So what's going on here behind the scene? What's going on is that I am implementing this payment solution over here on Adyen Guide, which I'm going to link in the description box below, and this is how it goes. So what's happening here is that my app, as soon as the payment page appears, sends the amount and the currency or the other details of the order to my server, and my server then requests a payment session from Adyen. Adyen will return that session ID and other data, and then my server will pass that back to the client, my ReactJS project, and my client's gonna use this Adyen library over here, not this one, this client library, to render this payment form. And then what's going to happen is that me, the user, I'm going to enter the card information. I'm going to enter the card information in that form, and I'm going to hit pay. And what's going to happen is that the message will go straight to Adyen. It won't pass by my server, making this a PCI compliant solution. And Adyen will perform the payment request for me and handle any redirection as necessary, for example, like 3DS. It will return the authorization response back to me, to my client side, and it will also send a webhook notification to my server, so my server can update the order information in the backend. And that is pretty straightforward. And this is an embedded solution, an iframe solution, so it's very different and more customizable than the previous Adyen solution that we implemented in my previous video, which is the redirection. And yeah, it's that straightforward. So let's go ahead and implement it from scratch with a new ReactJS project. So let's go start where we always should start, which is in the official integration guide. Just a heads up, by the way, I will not be following exactly the steps in this integration guide and everything that is recommended here. I'm going to be kind of making my own changes to make it convenient for me while developing. You might do the same thing when you do your own development. Just keep that in mind. This integration that I'm going to be doing it may not be how it should work for everybody. So with that in mind, the first step will be to create the session. So you're going to basically send an API request that looks like this to check out Adyen sessions endpoint, and you're going to give them your merchant account ID, amount, and currency, and return URL, and a reference that you generate yourself, and your country code. In my case, that's Saudi Arabia, so here I put SA. Okay, you send that, and then what we get back in return is this, and you're going to be using this parameter session data and this parameter session ID to create the payment form on the client side. So you want to go ahead and implement this in your backend, so let's go and do that. Okay, so I went ahead and set up my my endpoint project. Now I'm going to go ahead and implement my create session API call over here. To do that, I'm going to go to Postman, grab my sample from here, click this code symbol over here. Let me move myself so you can see. Move me to the other side here. And here I clicked on this code symbol over here, and here you can get a API sample in any language, and I choose to use Axios for my project in NodeJS. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that to my project here and make some modifications. Okay, so here I implemented my API request. I just need to get the amount. So the amount I'm going to be receiving in decimals. meaning that this 10.99 here doesn't mean the amount is 1,099. It means that the amount is $10, for example, and 99 cents. But if it was a currency like, for example, BHD, Bahraini dinar, which has 3 decimals, this would actually be 1.099. So because we're going to be using USD in this case, let's say, this is going to be $10.99. So I have to convert it to the appropriate amount. If I receive it like this, I need to multiply by 100 and convert to a number. Now for the reference, you gotta create a random string of your choosing. I like to create a 8-digit long string, so you can just get a method that creates the random string from you from ChatGPT or look it up online. So for me, I'll just ask ChatGPT for 1. Last thing, we need to grab the API key, and I'll show you how you can get that. So first thing, to get your API key, go to your test account, and if you haven't created a test account, just Google test account Adyen and go to the website over here and click on this link, and here you can register for a test account, and I'll drop this link in the description box for you guys. Go to API credentials, go to WS, and here you going to find your API key under server authentication settings, server settings, and your API key will be right here. I already generated mine, so I'll just grab it from Postman. Now just remember, when you store your API key, don't do it the same way I'm doing it. This is just for the demo's sake. You're gonna need to store your API keys in a secure manner, like for example using environment variables or some sort of a secret manager service. I think I got everything here. So before we deploy this to production and implement it with the client side, I need to go ahead and test it in the emulator first. And there you go, it's working. So now I can go ahead and implement this on my client side. So now I'm going to deploy this to production, so I can get a production link and then start implementing on the client side. Okay, here we are on the client side. It's not going to be a lot of work. It's going to be pretty easy. The first thing you want to do is that you want to create a function, a component in ReactJS for you that is going to contain your card form, and we'll also call your backend to request the session for the client side Adyen library. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Go to the section that says prepare your front end, and here just follow these steps to install the client-side library on your ReactJS project. So I'm going to copy this and install it. I need to include it in my React project, so I'm going to copy this, go here, include it, done. What else? I need to create a DOM element, so I'm just going to copy this also, and instead of having my placeholder here, I'm going to put this instead. Then I need to create the component. So here there's a lot of talk, but if you just go down here, it's going to show you a sample of what you need to create. So just copy this and paste it. We need to create a use effect component, so let's do that. And inside here I'm going to create the method for creating the session. This is what's gonna call my server to get the session ID and the session data, which gonna be used in that global configuration object that you just saw now. This global configuration option. So I'm going to make a call for my server and get this and this. Okay, now here I need to put the URL for my endpoint that just got deployed to production. Now I just need to get the amount and the currency. So the currency is USD and the amount is right here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and grab this. Cool. And after I send this request, I need to get the session ID and the session data from the response. So here, I'm gonna do session data, and that's gonna be the ID. Let's double check that. Go to Postman, have a look to make sure your parameters are correct. So yeah, ID and session data. Here, it's gonna be session data. Or instead of getting it from your server, you can just copy the same stuff you got over here. So cool. My locale is gonna be English US. My country is gonna be SA, Saudi Arabia. Now the client key is gonna be something you get from your test area again. So go back to that area, and there you go. And then same page where you got your server API key. If you scroll down a bit here on the client settings, you're gonna find your client key. Copy that. And if you don't have one there, you just need to generate a new one. Paste it, and here you can handle what happens on complete. So I'm just going to display the results for now. That's all I got for now. So let's go back to the integration guide. Card configuration, optional if you need to set additional card configuration. This is, I don't want to do this. I just want to keep it basic. I want to use the same icons, and I don't want to require the billing address. Override global configuration. This is if you want to override this. I don't want to do that. Again, just want to keep it simple. Then I guess this is the real last step over here. I gotta mount the component, so let's do that. I'm just gonna copy this. And over here, after setting global configuration, I'm gonna paste this. I don't have card configuration. Let's see if this is optional. So just do new card. And yeah, as you can see here, card configuration is an optional parameter. So I'm just gonna put my global configuration object. Refresh, let's see. Is this thing working? Something's wrong here, and I don't know what it is. Let's take a look. First thing to check, are we getting the correct response from create session? Yes, we are. Everything is fine there. So what's the issue? Oh, sorry, I missed this. So global configuration is supposed to go into the Adyen checkout object, and it will create this checkout parameter over here, and then I'm gonna plug that into the card object. Okay, so sorry about that. Sorry for wasting your time, guys. So go ahead and copy this and create this and replace it with this. Save and refresh. You should get your page now. There you go. This is why you don't skim through integration guides. Everything is good on the client side. I can go ahead and test it. To test it, just Google Adyen test cards. Find the test card numbers here on their official site again. Here you'll find a bunch of cards over here. I'm just gonna go pick a Visa card. Go over here, put the card number, and the expiry is always 3/30/737. Pay. Looks like the payment is done. It's showing me here authorized in the console. Now let's try with 3DS. So here, if you go all the way at the bottom, there will be cards just for testing 3D secure. I'm gonna grab this card, pay. Now, what's gonna happen now is it's gonna display the 3DS page, and here I'm just gonna type password. Click OK, and then after it's done, it's gonna print out in the console the result over here. So this is good. I just need to handle what happens in the result after the payment is done, and that's gonna be pretty straightforward. So I'm gonna do two things. I'm gonna create an additional component for the saying that the order is confirmed, that shows up after this thing is gone, and I'm gonna also display in it the reference number for the order, so that the customer keeps that with the receipt. So let's go ahead and do that. Cool, now that is done, let's go ahead and test it. pay. Payment is loading. You get the 3DS page if 3DS is required. Hit OK. And then after the payment is done, using the state variables that I created, it's gonna take out this component out of the picture and replace it with this based on this parameter. As you can see here, it tells me the door has been placed and shipped. Good. So that's all you gotta do on the client side, and we're almost done. Just one thing left, which is we need to set up webhook notifications so that our server can receive updates about the order. Again, to your customer area, click on developers on the left side, click on webhooks, and I already have a webhook here set up, but I'm gonna show you how to make one. You click create, you click standard webhook, and here you choose a description, test, demo, whatever, and here it'll ask you for your server endpoint for this webhook notification. Basically, the URL which Adyen should send the updates to, and for that we need to go ahead and create that. Give me a minute to create a project file for the endpoint. Okay, so this is the project file for my webhooks. For the purpose of this video and to keep the demo short, I'm not gonna go into depth about how to create the endpoint, the webhook endpoint, and how to secure it, and how to validate and update the order management system. For the purpose of the demo, I'm just gonna make this webhook endpoint simply receive the payload from Adyen and just log it in the console. So to do that, I'm just gonna simply do this. That's it, and I'm just going to deploy it and use it in the Adyen webhook setup portal. Okay, cool. My webhook endpoint got deployed. Here's the URL. Just gonna give that. Just gonna put it here. Method JSON. You're gonna have to generate an HMAC key that you're gonna have to then validate. I'm gonna probably, if you guys would like to, I'll create a separate video on how to do that and how to update your order system using webhooks. But for the purpose of this video, I'm gonna skip all this stuff. But here you can select what kind of events your server gets notified on by Adyen, what kind of transactions, what kind of card data you want to include, and so on. Anyways, I'll save this. Cool, and it's active. Now let's go ahead and try transaction again, and I'm going to open the console, the log explorer from my endpoint, and see what comes up here. Ready? Let's try it. So I'm just going to try a regular Visa transaction without 3DS or anything. 737, hit pay, and the order is placed successfully. Now let's look at our log explorer for our endpoint and see what happens. Here, refresh. It received a request, alright, but I forgot to include a package. Let's fix that real quick and rerun it. Okay, I fixed it, and now let's try this again before the video gets too long for people to watch. Payment made. So this over here, I don't know if you can see it, it might be too small, I'll try to zoom in, is our webhook request, and here inside the JSON payload, this will be very hard to see, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy all of this as a JSON, and let's look at it here. this is what I get from Adyen precisely. So all of this is just stuff that the logger records. So I mean, this is the actual JSON payload that we received. Here it says notification items, and it's an array, because you might get more than one notification at the same time, and your server must be able to loop through them and handle them. This is our order reference. This is what you will use to map this with to find this in your database and update your database. So this is the HMAC signature that you're gonna have to validate, and that's how you use the webhooks to update your server on the payment result. So that's it. That's all. Hope you enjoyed the video. I found this implementation method pretty straightforward, at least for me. Even though I made a couple of stupid mistakes along the way in the video. Sorry about that. If you find this video useful, hit like, subscribe, ask any questions you want in the comment section. I'll include all the links that I've shown in the description box. And if you want to support the channel and get the full source code for this instead of having to implement it from the scratch, go ahead and check my Patreon, also linked in the description box below. That's all. Have a good day. I'll see you later with another payment video.